Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Today's daf is daf. Hey, we start from the Mishnah of Dawud Amud Beis, 2 lines on the bottom. Hoyru Bezdin v'osu kola kola ruban alpian. Bezdin made a mistake. They passed Chel of his mutter, and most Klal Yisrael, or all 12 Shvatim, all Klal Yisrael, followed their psak halacha. Mevi and par, then they bring a param davash tzibur. If Bezdin was toya in a din of avodah zarah, yeah, let's just say they pass in the shtachavoya without pishut yidayim raglayim is mutter, then mavi and par v'soir, they have to bring a par and the soir, which is unique to avodah zarah, but the kol brings nothing. Divrei Rabbi Meir, that's shitas Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda oimer shnei maseh shvatim mavi and shnei maseh parim. It's not Bezdin, yeah. It's really kol shevet v'shevet. That's who brings the param davash tzibur. Bezdin doesn't bring it. It's incumbent on the shvatim to bring each shevet their own par. They have to bring the sar. Also, each shevet has to bring both. Not just each shevet plus bezdin agadol. But it's kavim shloisha separim shloisha seirim. Par v'sor l'chol shevet par v'sor lebezdin. Hoyru bezdin also shiva shvatim eruban alpian. What happens if bezdin paskind chelav mutter, for example, and 7 shvatim, which is most of the shvatim, a majority of the shvatim, or a majority of Klal Yisrael, yeah? Then Mavi and Par, then Bezdin has to bring a param davash tzibur. Avodas kchavim, Mavi and Par v'soir, divrei Rabbi Meir. Again, this is Rabbi Meir's shita that you only Bezdin brings a param davash tzibur or a soir b'avodah zarah, and you don't need a majority of Klal Yisrael dafka, even if it's a majority of Shvatim. The B'yudoim is Shiva Shvatim Shechatu Mavi and Shiva Parim. Oh, Vad, if it's a majority of Shvatim, they bring a Param Davash Tzibur, right? Shiva Parim. The B'yudoim's opinion is that each Shevet brings a Param Davash Tzibur. Sh'ar Shvatim Shleichatu. Here he adds, even the Shvatim that aren't Chaytim Mavian Al Yedeim Par Shaf Elu Shleichatu Mavian Al Yedeim Chaytim. Psh, the B'yudoim is Mechayev Gans Klal Yisrael. Yeah, we're Mamish Klal Yisrael Arayvim Zay Lazay, that even Elu Shleichatu Mavian Al Yedeim Chaytim, a par, each shevet has to bring a pound of tzibur. If Shimon says, if 7 shvatim, for example, follow this wrong psak halacha, then you bring shmoyne parim, right? Par for each shevet plus bezdin. That's Shimon opinion. But it's kechavim shmoyne parim shmoyne seirim, par v'sor l'chol shevet par v'sor lebezdin. Oh, zug the Mishnah, hoyru bezdin shel echad min hashvatim. What if it wasn't on a federal level, so to speak, it was on a state level, right? Each shevet, right, you have to have each shevet has their own judicial system, their own bezdin agadol. So what if the bezdin of a certain shevet made a wrong psak? Only that shevet is chayiv param davash hatzibur. U'she'ar kol hashvatim peturin divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Now, the chiddush is that it doesn't have to be bezdin agadol, Sanhedrin, Belishkas Agazos, and the Harabayis. It's not just them. It's even the bezdin of each shevet. If the head bezdin of each shevet makes such a mistake, then that shevet has to bring a param davash tzibur. But in this case, shar kol hashvatim p'turin. Rabbi Yoel earlier said that all the other shvatim have to bring also, even if they weren't chayta. That's only if Sanhedrin Agadol made the mistake and one shevet followed, then everybody has to bring. But if the bezdin of one of the shvatim made the mistake and that shevet followed, then only they are mechuyev to bring a param davash tzibur according to Rabbi Yehuda. Ein chayavin elo al Horayos bezdin agadol b'vad. Nisht. Only if Sanhedrin and Lishkas Agazos, they are the ones that make a mistake, then you have to bring a param davash tzibur, but not if a bezdin of a shevet makes a mistake. Shenemar v'im kol adas Yisrael yishgu. It's referring to the Sanhedrin Gedoyla. Kol adas, they're called the Eida. V'lo adas shel oiseh shevet. The adas of Kol Yisrael. Adas of Kol Yisrael, not because they're called Eida. Adas of Kol Yisrael, that's the drasha. They bring the par halam davash tzibur if they make a mistake, but not Adas shel oiseh shevet. So the Heilige Gemara, the Gemara is going to bring a brayso that echoes our Mishnah. Tanu Rabbanon, brayso in Toras Kohanim. Yadu shahoyru, v'to'u mehoyru. So the first part we didn't learn in the Mishnah. The first part is a different halacha. What happens if, let's say, bezdin paskin to be matir chelev, yeah, a bittul miktsas. not all of chaylev, but in some way, shape, or form, they weren't mevatel chaylev legamer. That's oiker kol haguf, but they were mevatel part of the halacha of chaylev, and the Klal Yisrael ate the chaylev, and they also ate dam b'shayking. But the dam was a shigigas ma'isa, not a shigigas oira. It wasn't because Bezdin paskin dam is mutter. It was only chaylev. Now, Bezdin finds out they made a mistake. Yadu shahiru, they knew that they made some mistake, but but they don't remember if their mistake was they were mater chaylev or mater dam. Klal Yisrael was over on both. One was the shigas oira, one was the shigas ma'isa, but they don't remember which one is which. Yochel yuchayav, and I would have thought that they chayav a param davashat tzibur because lamaisa at the end of the day, right? Klal Yisrael was over on both, and one of them is a result of Bezdin. So who cares if Bezdin doesn't know? So Talmud Loimer, no, it's not enough. Noida hachatos v'lo shiyivadu achoitin. Yet Bezdin has to know noida hachatos asher chatu alel. They have to know the aveda that they're bringing the param davashat tzibur for. V'lo shiyivadu achoitin. It's not enough that they know who the people are, the choitim, but they have to know also the chatos. The Brayse Mamshech Ashechatu Alel Ashechatu. So the Brayse Chatu Shnei Shvatim Avi Shnei Parim Chatu Shloisha Avi Shloisha. Meaning it goes Basir the Shvatim. How many Shvatim are Chaitam? That's how many par helm davar shal tziburs you have to bring. Each shevet brings a par. Oyena Omer Elo Chatu Shnei Yechidim Avi Shnei Parim Chatu Shloisha Avi Shloisha. Maybe it's referring to Yechidim. How do you know that Chatu, the plural, is referring to the Mispar Shvatim that were chayta? Maybe it's mispar ha'anoshim shnei yechidim. Bring two. Each one brings their own. Chatu shloisha v'yin shloisha. Imagine that. You never have parim left over. Talmud loymar hakol chayiv v'chol kol v'kol chayiv. The param davashat tzibur is a chayiv that's mutal on the kohol, and so it's only on each shevet. Each shevet is called the kol. That's why ashechat wale is going on the shvatim, not on the yechidim. Keitzad. Chatu shnei shvatim avi shnei parim, chatu sheva mivin sheva. Sh'ar shvatim shloi chatu mivin al-deim par. They bring a par for each shevet. Shafilu elu shloi chatu. This is Rabbi Yoel. Mivin al-deim choytel l'kach namer kol l'chayiv kol Divrei Rabbi Yoel. Rabbi Yoel is of the opinion that when even one or two shvatim follow the psak of Sanhedrin HaGadol and they make the mistake, and then find out about it, then every shevet has to bring a par. Shimon omer shiva shvatim shechatu mivin sheva parim. And ubezdin mevian al yudeim par. They have to bring also the bezdin, but they don't hold that every shevet, even the shvatim that didn't. Shimon doesn't hold that like Rabbi Yoel, that even the shvatim that didn't do the avera bring. Now, how does he know that bezdin also brings it? Shnemer lamata kol v'nemer lamala kol. Ma kol amr lamala. When it says v'nel am davar me'inei akol, which refers to the psak, right? Me'inei akol is bezdin. They didn't remember the psak halacha, and they paskined on the asu achas kol mitzvah shem t'zasen v'ashemu. So that's referring to Bezdin. So Makol Amr Lamayla. Bezdin Imakol, it's referring to Bezdin together with Klal Yisrael. Avkol Amr Lamata, when we talk about the Chiv of Par, when they find out if they bring out the Par and Lavash Tzibur, it's referring to Bezdin Imakol. Bezdin also has to bring a Par. That's Reb Shimon's opinion. Rabbi Meir Oimer, Reb Meir says, Shiva Shvatim Shechatu Bezdin Mavin Al-Deim Par. Vehem Pturin. Shiva Shvatim Shechatu, only Bezdin, doesn't matter how many Shvatim followed Bezdin's wrong Psak, only Bezdin brings a Par on Lavash Tzibur, but Klal Yisrael never brings it. How did he know that? Never call a matter, never call a mila. Ma call a mila bezdin. Veloy tzibur. Inei akol doesn't mean tzibur. He's arguing with Shimon over here. It's referring only to bezdin. Av kol amar lamata bezdin veloy tzibur. So too the call that says in the pasuk beis the krivu akol par. That's referring to only bezdin and no shvatim bring it. So I guess we go michamer el akal. Rabbi Yoel says that one or two shvatim that follow Sanhedrin HaGadol and they make the mistake, then everybody has to bring it, right? Af elu shaloi chatu mavin al yidei achaytim. And Reb Shimon says, no. Not every shevet has to bring it. It's each shevet that made the mistake plus bezdin. And Reb Meir says only bezdin. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Elazar oimer mishmoi. Reb Shimon ben Elazar adds to Reb Meir's halacha. Im chatu shishi shvatim emru b'shal kol or shiva ap she'emru b'shal kol mavin par. When does bezdin bring the par? If you have either a majority of Shvatim, even if they comprise a minority of Klal Yisrael, or you have a majority of Klal Yisrael, even if they comprise a minority of the Shvatim. Omar Mar. Now the Bryce is going to explain each Tana's opinion. Omar Mar v'noido achatos. V'loi she'yavodu achoitin. First of all, before that, mantana, the first halach in the brisa. The brisa, Gemara is going to take apart the brisa one by one. First halach we learned on the brisa was, if Bezin cannot remember what the mistake was, they knew that it was either chaylev or dam, and Klal Yisrael violated both Yisurim. One was a shigas maisa, and one was shigas seirah. So Bezin can't remember which one is which. The halach is they don't bring a param davash al tzibur, because it says v'noida achatos. They have to know for what chet they bring it for. V'lo shivadu achoitin. It's not enough to know the choitin. Man Tana, who's the Tana? Rav Yoel Rava, the loik Rabbi Eliezer. First, by process of elimination, I can tell you who it's definitely not. It's not Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanya will let the Braisa Omer Rabbi Eliezer manavshach im chaylev achal chayiv noiser achal chayiv. Yeah, halacha is so Mishnah increases. Mishnah says he had chaylev and noiser in front of him, and he ate one of them b'shoigig, but he doesn't know which one he ate, chaylev or noiser. They're both karus, yeah, and they're both achatas, both the same unshin, but he's not sure which one he ate. So Rabbi Eliezer says, "Manavshach im chaylev achal chayiv noiser achal chayiv." So you bring achatas, no problem. So over here too, right? Over here too, if Bezdin doesn't know where their mistake was, whether it's chaylev or dam, and Klal Yisrael violated both, okay, either one would be mechayev with paral davash tzibur, so they can bring it. Rav Ashi Mafil Teim Rabbi Eliezer Shana Ochad Dechsiv Asher Chatu Aleho. Before Rav Ashi, see on the bottom, he explains, maybe it is Rabbi Eliezer because over here you have a pasuk, v'noida achatas. If they don't know pasuk, if you have a pasuk, so maybe Rabbi Eliezer would agree over here that Bezdin has to know what they're bringing the param davash tzibur for. So he says over here, no, by chatas, by the regular parish of chatas, it also says oy hoida elov chatasai. Right? He realized what his chet was, and in that case he didn't really realize it because he's not sure whether it's chaylev or noiser. And yet Rabbi Eliezer says you bring a chatas. So you see, Rabbi Eliezer isn't makpid on the actual words of hoida elov chatas. He's not darshaning. You have to know what chet you were over on. Rashi Amar Fil Tem Rabbi Eliezer. He says Rabbi Eliezer for a different reason. Shana Ochad Dechsiv Asher Chatu Aleho. We have the word aleho. Aleho is extra, which means you have to know what the chet was. Bezdin HaGodel cannot bring a param davash tzibur unless they know exactly where they made the mistake. Over there it says a pasuk, ba is extra. No, it's not extra, says the Gemara. Misasik is, right, classic case of misasik is you're trying to do a maisa heter, and inadvertently you ended up doing a maisa isser. For example, you bend down, you want to take a blade of grass that's not connected to the ground, and you grab by mistake a blade of grass that's mechuber lakarka and you're toilish b'Shabbos. Your maisa was intended for the piece of grass that was not mechuber, so that's called a misasik. That's not a shoygig. A shoygig is you grab the grass that's mechuber, but you forget it's Shabbos, so you think it's mutter. So you intended for that maisa isser. Misasik is you intended a maisa heter, not a maisa isser. And there, how do I know that you putter from a chatas on that? It says rechata ba. You have to be aware and present in the maisa itself. You have to want to do that maisa, just you weren't aware that it's aser. Okay, my time with Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, now we're going to go and take apart each shita in the brisa when it comes to how many parim you bring by a param davash tzibur. Says the Gemara, my time with Rabbi Yehuda. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say that that each shevet brings a par, even the shvatim that didn't do the aveira, right? This opinion is afilu ela shloichatu mavina idei chayten. Says the Gemara, ksavar arba kahali ksivi. It says the word. It says 4 times kahal. Now it really doesn't say 4 times. It says it twice. Pasuk aleph and pasuk beis. Yeah, it says hakol and hakol. So the Gemara is going to say it's as if it says 4 times because he dashes the hey. Kol hakol, that's 2. Kol hakol, didn't have to say hey in both places, so he considers that a drasha, an extra call. So now we have 4. So chad l'chayev al kol kol v'kol. Number 1 is b'chayev on each shevet. The chad lo'irot lui b'bezna ma'isa tola b'kol. That even if Bezdin made a mistake, but they're not chayiv of param davash tzibur unless the call actually follows through on a ma'isa b'shaygig. V'chad, the third one is legreira. To be goiter, to drag along the other shvatim and a param davash tzibur, they also have to bring their own param davash tzibur. even though they didn't do the Aveira. V'chad l'shevet she'asa beiros bezdin. And another one is for a shevet that did the Maisa Isser al pi hayros bezdin of that shevet. That's also mechayev a param davash hatzibur, and that's how Rabbi knows these for halachas. Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon, why does he say that the other shvatim that didn't do it don't bring? You have 4 times a call, you have an extra call. So it's less a call eksivi. No, he says you only have 3. You don't have an availability for that drasha. It says hakol call. Okay, the second pasuk it says v'kriva call. It says ha call, the extra hey plus call. That's 2, and the hakol of the first pasuk where it says im kol dasirol yishgu v'nelam davar me'inei hakol, that you can darshan the hey as if it says an extra time hakol. You know why? Because urche me'inei hakol urche dekrahu. That's the way we speak. K'da amri inchi me'inei de planya, from the eyes of a person. So me'inei go from the eyes of the call. So that's not available for a drasha. So you only have 3. So what do you do with the 3? Chad l'chayev al kol kol v'kol. One is b'chayev on each shevet that sins, that does the aveda. They have to bring their own par helam davash al tzibur. Utrei achrina, the other 2 we need it for gzeidah shav and nemer lamata kol v'nemer lamala kol. It says v'kriva kol by the korban, by that krovas apar, and it says lamala, which is by the hayros bezdin me'enei hakol mala halon, just like by hayros bezdin. Bezdin imakol, it's referring to Bezdin together with the call Afkan Bezdin imakol. So Reb Shimon is of the opinion that each shevet brings a par plus Bezdin, but not the other shvatim. You don't have the 4th call. You don't have for that. But Reb Meir, remember, Reb Meir holds that only Bezdin brings it. That's it. No shvatim. Even if the shvatim are whatever shvatim follow through on that psak, nobody brings it. Kol hakol leidarish. Why not? Because he doesn't mechlal darshan the hay. So Mamel hilkach trei kol eksivi. It's only twice. You have the word I call twice. You need it for example. Shava, it says lamata lamayla mala alone, just like by Roaz Bezdin. Bezdin v'loy tzibur, he holds that call is only going on Bezdin. Afkan Bezdin v'loy tzibur, also with that krovas akarbin, it's only Bezdin, not tzibur. Rabbi Shimon Elazar, my time, and why does Rabbi Shimon Elazar hold in Rabbi Meir that either you need Roiv Shvatim or Roiv Klal Yisrael, either or, that already constitutes a Roiv Tzibur to bring a pound of Tzibur, Ksiv, v'hoy me'einei ha'eda. So me'einei alma miyuta. Sounds like even a miyut of Klal Yisrael violate the Aveda based on the Psak of Bezdin, they bring a carbon Tzibur. Ksiv me'einei, right? It's only miktsas. Ksiv ki l'chola am bishgaga. So here you have a contradiction in Psukim. L'meimer deruba en miyuta loy. Sounds like only Roiv. So how do you resolve? How do you reconcile these two psukim? Haketzad says Reb Shimon Elazar b'Shem Reb Meir asu shisha v'hein ruba shall call. Either you have roiv call, but they are comprised of a minority of the shvatim, or shiva, or you have a majority of the shvatim. Apishein ruba shall call chayav. So you have both present, both of these realities present in the same case, and that's why you bring. Korban Bezdin has to bring a pound of Tzibur. For Reb Shimon and Rabbi Meir, zuk the Heilige Gemara. Top line Heimat Beis. For Reb Shimon and Rabbi Meir, Daira Tluya Bezdin Umayse Toli Bekol Menolohu. How do I know? Right, Rabbi Yehuda had 4 calls available, and one of the calls that he had available, he darshaned that you only bring a pound of Tzibur if Hayra. The Hayra was from Bezdin, right? Hayra Tluya Bezdin. Bezdin has to make the mistaken psak. Umayse Toli Bekol. Right? The call has to follow through on the Maisa in order for the chiv of param davar tzibur to kick in. Rabbi Damakro. How do you know that? How do they know that? They don't have extra call. Rabbi Damakro. V'hoye me'ena eda nesasa l'shgaga. Right? The word nesasa is it's almost nesa means like on its own. Nesasa. It's not asu. Right? If it's asu, it sounds like the Sanhedrin that they made a mistake in the psak. They themselves did it, and that's when they bring a param davar tzibur. But nesa sounds like on its own. What do you mean on its own? How did it happen on its own? Teretz is they were goyim, right? They didn't do it, but they just paskined it, and they were goyim for Klal Yisrael to do it, and that's how you know that the Maisa is totally b'kol. Rava Omer milchol am b'shgaga. You learn from l'chol am b'shgaga tzricha. Okay, so it means that the nation they had to follow through b'shoigig on the psak of Bezdin tzricha. Why do you need these 2 psukim? Because of Rachmana v'hoyim me'enei denas l'shgaga v'mina fila mu'uta. If it just would have said me'enei, I would have thought that even a miyat of a kol doesn't say anywhere that it has to be roiv kol over there. If you just said Chalam Bishgoga, Avina the Avdi Bezin Badi Ruba. Bezin has to do it together with them. The Nesesa means they weren't involved. It was done al Yedehem, but not them themselves. The Gemara asks, how can you darshan this? For a regular parallel Davash Tzibur, this is said in the Aveda of Avodah Zarah. It's only when Bezin Paskins wrongly, they make a mistake in the Chet of Avodah Zarah. How do you know to apply it to all the other Chatoim? Says the Gemara, Yalfina Me'ena Me'ena, because you have Xer Shavim, and the parsha of Parla Oil of Asar Lachatas that Bezin brings when they make a mistake in a halacha of Avodah Zarah. It says over there Me'ena, it says V'hoya Me'ena Denes L'Shgogom, and it says by Tzibur that Urchatu B'Shar Aved is based on the Psak of Bezin, the wrong Psak of Bezin. The Ne'elam Davar Me'ena Hakol. The Xer Shav is Malamid that they're all that the Dinam are Shavim, and just like Baved Zara, you need Hayra that's Tluya Bebezin and Maisa Tola Bekol. So too by Shar Avedus, you need Tluya Bebezin and Maisa Tola Bekol. Says the Gemara Vayter, we learned in the Mishnah Hoyru Bezdin Shel Echad. What if on a state level, so to speak, right? Only the Bezdin of that Shevet made a mistake, and that Shevet followed. The halach is that Shevet is Chayv of Param Davash Tzibur, and all the other Shvatim are Potter. Iboilu. Shevet Echad l'Rabbi Yehuda, Bayraz Bezdin HaGadol. What happens if only one Shevet followed the wrong Psak halacha of the Sanhedrin Agdol Shibir Shalayim? Mi Maisu Shar Shvatim Eloi. So Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says that, let's say, Shiva Shvatim follow Bezdin HaGadol, or Roiv Klai Yisrael follows Bezdin HaGadol, then even the ones that didn't do their Veda have to also bring a pound of Tzibur, right? What if only one Shevet followed the Sanhedrin HaGadolah? Is that also Machayev all the other 11 Shvatim apart, their own par? Only maybe when there's a majority can drag the rest of Klai Yisrael with them and be Machayev them a pound of Tzibur. Avachat Shevet Lekeruba. Maybe loy. Maybe there's no difference. Toshama. Gemara wants to prove from a brayso. The following brayso says Moed Mevian. Yeah. What do they bring for Helam Davash Tzibur? Par Echad. Tanakama says one par. Shimon Noim Shnei Parim. So first of all, what's the case? It's a very cryptic, mysterious brayso. Mayaskinon. Ile Meshachatu Shiva. If you're going to tell me that we're talking about where a majority of the Shvatim followed the Psaka Bezdin, the Pshim Tmanya boy, how can Pshim say only 2? Pshim would require 8, 7 for each Shevet, 1 for each Shevet, which is 7, and plus Bezdin. Elo the Chata Shevet Echad. Must be there only one Shevet made the Aveda. So B'mai, what's the case? Iboiros Bezdinoi, which Bezdin is it? If it's the Bezdin of that Shevet itself, the Pshim and Leslie, Pshim doesn't hold, you bring a Param Davash Tzibur if a Bezdin of a certain Shevet makes a mistake, right? That's only the Yehuda's opinion. And Pshima says Shnei Parim, so it can't be that. That's the case. Elolah Beiros Bezdin HaGadol must be it's Beiros Bezdin HaGadol, and V'Tanakama Mani. So now we know the case. The case was that we're talking about one Shevet did the Aveda, and they did the Aveda based on the Beiros Bezdin HaGadol Shebir Shalayim. V'Tanakama Mani. Who's the Tanakama? Says the Gemara. He named it Rabbi Meir. He named it Rabbi Meir. If you can tell me it's Rabbi Meir Haruba Boy, Rabbi Meir says you need Roiv Shvatim or Roiv Klal Yisrael. You need some sort of Roiv to be Mechayev Bezdin, part of the Tzibur. Elolav Rabbi Yehuda must be it's Rabbi Yehuda. So once we know it's Rabbi Yehuda, what do you see from here? That other Shvatim are not Nigrar after one Shevet who follows the Eiros Bezdin HaGadol. Rabbi Yehuda only requires the rest of the Shvatim who didn't do the Aveira to also bring a par only if you have a majority of Klal Yisrael who followed Sanhedrin HaGadolah. Amri, the Gemara says no, it's not a raya. Could be, it's possible that the Bryce is talking about a different case. We're talking about Shisha Shvatim, who are Ruben Shalkal. It's a minority of Shvatim, but the majority of Klal Yisrael. If Shimon Loz, the time of Shimon Loz Mishmoi, Shimon Loz says Mishem Rebeir, Chatu Shisha Ruben Shalkal, Yeshua Avishan Ruben Shalkal, Mavian par. They bring a par. So Mamelo. Tanakama is B'chlal not Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rav Shimon ben Elazar who says in such a case you bring one par. And what's Reb Shimon going to hold? Reb Shimon says you bring Shnei Parim in such a case. Why? Reb Shimon holds you bring for each Shevet has to bring their own par. That's only if you have Roiv Shvatim of Roiv Klal Yisrael. But if you're missing one of those two, then you would only bring one par plus Bezdin's par. Okay. So if a Shevet follows, so in other words, we still don't have a proof. What would Rabbi Yehuda hold if one Shevet follows the Psak of Bezna Godel B'Yir Shalayim? What would Rabbi Yehuda hold with regard to the Shar Shvatim? Would they also be dragged into a Param Davash HaTzibur or not? So the Gemara says, Toshma, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mamash Befurish Braisa. Yeah, we found the Braisa in Sefri. Shevet she'osa b'ros bizdin oisa shevet chayev, u'shar kol hashvatim p'turin, u'beros bezna godel, afilu shar shvatim chayavin. Which means that Rabbi Yehuda holds that all the shvatim are nigger even after one shevet. So each one has to bring a par shma mino. That's the maskana. Omer Rav Ashi Masnis Nami Daike. It's also dik in our Mishnah. Diktani Mishnah says also oisei hashevet al piem. Oisei hashevet chayev. Right, if Bezdin of one of the Shvatim paskin wrongly and that Shevet followed, so Oisa Shevet Chayv is Shakal Shvatim Peturin. Lama Lemis the Shakal Shvatim Peturin. Why do you have to tell me again Shar Shvatim Peturin? If you tell me Oisa Shevet Chayv, I know that everybody else is Pater. Hatana is Shevet Chayv. Even Tana is Shevet Chayv. Ameli Dan Shar Shvatim Peturin. El Hakam Machmon the Beros Bezdinoi who the Shar Shvatim Peturin. In other words, we're emphasizing when are Shar Shvatim Peturin only if the Hayraz Bezdinoi of that Shevet misled the Shevet. Avul Hayraz Bezna Godel, afilu Shar Shvatim Chayav and Shma Minah. But if it's Hayraz Bezna Godel and misled one Shevet, even Shar Shvatim would be Chayav, Shma Minah. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that even Shevet Echad Shechota Hayraz Bezna Godel, all the other Shvatim bring a par Helam Davar Shal Tzibur as well. Says the Gemara Boiluhu Nachashailam. Shevet Echad She'osa Hayraz Bezna Godel. Let Reb Shimon mi Maisi Eloi. What happens if one Shevet didn't aveira by Ros Bezna Godel let Reb Shimon? In the Mishnah we said, the Braisa says that Reb Shimon says when you have 7 Shvatim or Chayta, which is a majority of Shvatim, majority of Klal Yisrael, then each Shevet brings. So maybe Reb Shimon only holds that when are they called Kohol? When you have a Rav Shvatim and Rav Klal Yisrael. But what if you have less than that? You have Shevet Echad. She'osa b'ros bezna godel Reb Mi ma'isi eloi. Would that Shevet bring if they don't comprise a majority? Toshma mon mavim par Echad. Reb Shimon have shnei parim. So we go back to that cryptic brisa earlier. So Gemara wants to know, but my askinon ilaima shechatu sheva. If it's a case where 7 Shvatim made the mistake, Shnei Parim, why would Reb Shimon only Mechayev Shnei Parim? Shmoina Parim boy. Right, he needs Shmoina. He needs 8. 7 plus Bezdin. Elo Dechata Shevet Echad. So it must be where one Shevet made the mistake. And what do we see? They bring a par. Ubamai Ilaim Beros Bezdinoi. If you're going to tell me the case is that their own Bezdin, that Shevet's Bezdin made a mistake, Reb Shimon Leste doesn't hold that in such a case, it's only if it's Ros Bezna Godel that made a mistake. Elo by Ros Bezna Godel, and Mameli Varaya by Ros Bezna Godel. If you make a mistake, and one Shevet follows, they're called a call, and you bring a Param Davash Tzibur. Where's the Tizbara? Tanakama Mani. Who's Tanakama according to this? Ireb Meir, Aruba Boy. How could Reb Meir be Mechayev one par? Meir is the one who's Mechayev a par, right? Only Bezdin brings the par. But how can you Mechayev a par in such a case? Haruba Boy. If it's only one Shevet that made the mistake, you wouldn't Mechayev anything. It needs a Roiv. Rabbi Yehuda, Shar Shvatim Nami Maisu. If it's Rabbi Yehuda, all the other Shvatim would have to bring their own also. Even the ones that didn't make the mistake, I'd have to bring because they're Nigrodim. So the Gemara says, Amani Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So it must be Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Karatanya. Which means the whole case is a case of you have only Rav Shvatim or Rav Kahal, and that's where the Machloikas is at. It's not even talking about this case of Shevet Echad that was Choyte Beros Bezna Godel. So maybe you can't be Poisha the Shaila and Reb Shimon. Toshema. The Chachomim Oimrim La'olam Einoi Chayev Elo Al Ros Bezna Godel. Yeah? Man Chachamim, who's the Chachamim? Ilay Reb Meir Rubabai, Nidroi Velav Reb Shimoni. It's Reb Shimon, Shma Mino. The Reb Shimon holds that even a Shevet Echot Shechot Al Piros Bez Nagodol is Chayiv in a Parah Hamdava Shal Tzibur. Okay? Lamaisa, the bottom line is, what do you see from Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon? That one Shevet is called the Kol. Now the Gemara wants to know, how do they know that? Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon, Shevet Echot Ikri Kol Menolu. How do they know that one Shevet is called a Kol? Yeah, says the Gemara Omri, the Chesiv, it says in the Pasuk, when Klal Yisrael came together, Beis HaMikdash, we mispalel to Hashem to help them from the Milchama against Ammon and Moav, yeah, and Seir. The Melech Yehuda Yoshafat came v'yamad Yoshafat b'Kal Yehuda v'Yishalayim b'Veis Hashem lefnei hachotzer hachadosha. They all came to the Harabayis lefnei hachotzer hachadosha, and the Gemara says, "My chotzer hachadosha." Why is it called chadosha? The chotzer wasn't new. Why is the word chadasha there? Rabbi Yochanan shechitshu devarim, because that day they're mechadish devarim mahalacha in the besmedish of Yeshafat. V'amru, the Chachamim said tvul yoim al yikanas machna lavia. That a tvul yoim is somebody who still needs to wait for head of shemesh, right? He was tovel already, but he still has to wait for head of shemesh to become tohar lagamri. So he has to wait. So you can't enter machna lavia, which is the harabayas. And that's why it's called the Chatzar Chadasha, because of the chidush that was neschadish, that you have to increase in the level of tahara in the Chatzar. That's what's called a Chatzar Chadasha. Now, Rabbi Eiger, very uncharacteristically unusual for Rabbi Eiger to do gematrias over here on the side, and the Gilyon Hashaz brings some shaylas that Shuvah Zichron Yosef b'Soifoi, and it's chidushim. It says the Lafnei Chatzar Chadasha. It's gematria tful yoim leikonas b'machnel shalaviyim. Unbelievable. That the gematria of those words is the same gematria of this halacha that was neschadish ba'oisai hayoim. Incredible. Sounds like a balaturim. Okay. Maskefler of Acha bar Yaakov Mimai. How do you know from here that one shevet is called a kol? Dilma Shani Rishlayim. Talk about Yerushalayim. Shlayim Davanami Binyamin. It was Binyamin and Yehuda, right? So maybe it's Kahal, Yehuda, v'Yerushalayim, which are two Shvatim. I didn't know even Shevet Echad is called the Kol. So the Gemara, L'Meracha bar Yaakov, the Chesiv, when Yaakov said to Yosef that Hashem benched me, and he said, V'yomer Elai hinni mafrecha v'besicha nestich kal hamim, right? Man isi lahei shaita, who still needed to be born? Binyamin. Shma min achi kamer rachman, misyilid lach hashta kol achrina. You'll still have another Kol. It was only one Shevet. So you see from there how Yaakov referred, when he said what Hashem told him, the Torah refers to one Shevet, Kahal Amim. So Kol is one Shevet. Amalei V'Shabbaler of Kahana. How do you know to interpret the pasuk like that? Dilma Achi Kamer Rachmana. L'chemis Yilad Lach Ben Yamin Udav Shnei Maser Shvatim the Miskarat Kol. When Ben Yamin will be born, now you're called a Kol because you have 12 Shvatim. Amalei Ela Shnei Maser Shvatim Ikar Kol Achad Shvatim Lo Ikar Kol. What do you mean? So before that they weren't a Kol because Ben Yamin was missing? I've other a Kol. They're a Rabbim. So Vadai, the Pirush HaPasuk must be like Rav Acha bar Yaakov, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Maftiach Yaakov to give him a Kol, which was another Shevet, Binyamin, and that's how Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon know that a Shevet, one Shevet is called a Kol. Okay, we'll stop over here.